Alrighty then, so I want to talk about a few things about the last video, and I'll give you a little warning and advisory right here. I'm gonna say shit about beating kids, beating up dogs, beating up people, and nothing that I'm about to say going forward is anything I've done. And if I have done any of these atrocities, can't say that word, but any of these bad shits I'm about to talk about, if I've done any of these things, I will tell you before I say it, and I will be brutally honest. And you know, you might think different of me if I have done something and you think it's bad. So, you know, you don't want to lose. You don't like talking about things like that, because I'm going to use it all to teach you how that limbic system works in your mind, how the magic works, how putting sigils in your mind, how pain or pleasure actually works. I'm going to go into more depth because I was a little bit vague around the edges, and I know, for me anyways, it was really important learning this stuff. More than that, I'm going to talk about hypnosis and triggers and stuff like that, and how this is the way your body works. This is the natural process in your body for adding triggers into you, but you don't know these triggers are there. And you know, I've already made an episode on how this whole COVID shit, by them showing the fear all the time, if someone does get too much fear, it will do this process, make a trigger in them, and then they could be used as a puppet, basically, and the media might even know about it. So the warning is, I'm going to be talking about abuse to animals, but before I do, I want to say I don't believe in abusing animals. There's different ways, there's better ways to teach your pets using this system. And that's another thing I'm going to go into, is too much positive emotion does do the same thing. A different way, but for the same fucking reasons. Because if every time you experience too much positive emotion, if it didn't do this, then that would make you... People fall in love with drugs because they love getting high. Doing drugs is the way to feel this positive emotions, the dopamine release. This thing that happens is dopamine being released in your mind, either for negative or positive reasons. But it's so much, when there's too much release of the dopamine, whether it's the negative version or the positive version, that's when this feedback loop backs up 1 second, records everything in your surroundings that happened when that situation happened. This way, for the fear reason, this way, the next time you're experiencing something similar to that, it's going to know a couple seconds before it happens, and you're going to get the fuck out of there. And this way, this is how your body protects you. It also protects you from traumatic events, abuse as a kid, sexual abuse, shit like that. This happens, and then some people don't even know about it. The reason some people do know about it versus other people is if one person only had it one time, then this happened. But after they have it happen over and over and over again, they become desensitized to it. It's no longer something they fear, it's something they come to expect. The human body can adapt to anything, good or bad. Okay, and it's sad that people take advantage of that and do this to people, but it's happened and it's exploited. And that's why I want to talk about it, because it's fucking important. But the drugs are a way to experience that dopamine release without having this be triggered, because you're doing drugs. And it still can, for certain people that think drugs are really bad, and there's so much fear, and then they feel so good, and it's like a polarity fucking fear inside of them. But it's more, anyways, it can trigger this. Because I know the first time I got high, I blanked out, I fell in front of everybody. I also told everybody about a story where I went green and passed out in front of people when I got high at school the one time, and that's because we're going out in the open and there's people there I knew that had ties to my sister, ties to my mom, and all that shit. So I was fearful that they would know. And I mean, I can't tell you for sure, but it damn well seems very likely, because my mom got me tested for everything under the fucking sun at the hospital after, and nothing came back bad. So to me, it was that process happening, and when it happened, I fucking fell on my fucking face. And the way the one guy I played a long time ago, I forget the name of him, is a psychologist. He explains this way better than I do. Well, he says you could be hitting the fucking wall every time you're triggered, and you wouldn't know it, and you'd just be having a headache. And you'd go to the doctor, ask them why you get these headaches. They run every test, and they wouldn't be able to find anything. But meanwhile, every time someone says the color orange or spaghetti, or you smell spaghetti or whatever, because the neocortex is what records everything, every time one of these or all these triggers happen, you're running to the wall because you blank right out. It's a trigger, and it sends you into the subconscious state where you just don't fucking remember anything. You walk into the fucking wall, or into traffic and die, or go around shooting people because you're so scared and it's not even you. So that's what I want to get into. Now I'll start off with Once again, I don't believe in hitting animals. It's wrong. There's a better way to go. And I'm going to relate this to kids and our parents. And when I say our parents, my parents are both in their 60s. They both still work. They're not at the age of retirement, but they're damn close. And the difference between the kids right now and then my generation and then like my parents' generation. Now there's a bunch of generations in between all those generations. And there could be a big variance of difference, but I'm going to generalize a little bit just to prove a fucking point. So, when my parents were kids, my dad, more than my mom, because he's a couple years older, or a year older, but he got hit at school by nuns and shit, okay? My mom, that was implemented, but she never got hit by it. This is religious schools. I don't know if the public schools did that. I know my dad changed to a public school, but they might have kiboshed us by a certain point. And parents were slapping kids on the bum for a while too. Now, I may have got slapped on the bum a few times as a child, and this is probably why it was used and why it may have even worked. Is because it mattered to most guys. I'm telling you that right now. Get that in your little, beautiful brains. You guys are the stronger sex. You guys get to pick your mates. You can have 10 guys going at once, and they'd all keep sleeping with you because they might not be getting somewhere else. And they would be okay with that for the longest time. Eventually, some guy will probably give you the ultimatum because he might have more of a woman energy like I would. I'd probably have a problem with that, but nonetheless, you're all beautiful. You all deserve fucking guys that are gonna really treat you like queens. So don't accept anything less than to be treated like a fucking queen. No, not even queen. A fucking goddess. Anyways. So, my parents, they got hit. Or people, they know they got hit. And my parents, they didn't hit me. They weren't abusive parents by any stretch of the imagination. And the times I got smacked on the ass, I'm telling you, but it wasn't enough to give a fear response. Because it was just you ever tap your baby's hand? This is why I said parental advisory on here. And when I say parental advisory, I mean advisory for parents who think I'm a bad parent. But I've said, hey, Sienna, no, bad, and gave her 2 little fingers and a light little tap on the hand. And she cries because she is insulted. She didn't believe Daddy would have hit her. So I'm Daddy didn't believe he hit her, and I feel so fucking bad. I give her a big hug. I'm sorry, which is counterproductive, counterintuitive, but so that's basically what my parents did to me. I don't want anybody to think my parents beat me or anything like that. And maybe it does work, maybe it doesn't. I think when their baby's like that, it does work. The 2 little taps on the hand when they know it's a violent, aggressive thing. They get insulted by it, but I don't know if that would trigger it. But on the opposite side of the spectrum, positive reinforcement works as well, and it probably works better. And I can give you proof of that with Owen, my stepson, because I did a lot of negative reinforcement for when he's bad. And at the beginning of this year, me and my wife had a conversation like that, and I think I recorded an episode about it. You'd have to find the episode and the date for the beginning of this year, but we decided to implement a system like that for positive reinforcement, meaning we have a lot of reasons for our kids not to do bad things because they have a bunch of bad consequences. But we're not really we're expecting them to do good and not giving them positive reinforcement. Not saying, here's some money, here's some snacks, here's some freedoms, whatever. We're just, if you don't do these things, well, you're in trouble, And eventually, like I just said, anybody can adapt to anything. And Owen certainly got in trouble a lot, especially before he was on his pills, to the point where he got adapted to that. And it didn't mean anything to be in trouble anymore, to sit in his fucking room, to not be at recess. It didn't matter anymore to him. He was used to it, which is sad. And at that point, you have no choice but to put in positive reinforcement. Give him a cookie to chase, because then it's something new. I mean, people love change, even though they say they hate it and they try to fight it. But it's still exciting and it's still something to look forward to. Everybody loves positive reinforcement change, when it means like you go from $5 a day to $10 a day for your chores, or if it's like no money a day to $2 a day, and no one's going to complain about that. So that's the kind of change I'm talking about that nobody hates. The opposite is where change sucks, whenever things are changing for the worse. Nobody wants that. Or the change is unknown. people rather vote in a president that is a piece of shit president that they know and can expect his shitty moves and keep being treated like shit because they got used to it, rather than voting in a new president who promises to do a bunch of things, and then people are saying, no, it's going to be twice as worse, rather than just saying, no, fuck it, I'll go with the old same guy that's already there. But anyways, for a dog, it's the same fucking thing. Dogs don't have the neocortex like us. This is why we train kids as a baby. This is why that 0 to 7, they're like an animal, they're like a dog. They're recording everything, they're all subconscious mind. But from day to day, they may not remember something. So you tell your baby one day no, and the whole day she remembers that. The next morning, you say, don't do that, Sienna. Remember yesterday? She's like, what's do that? I know Sienna's me, but I don't know what the rest of those fucking weird sounds coming out of your mouth mean. And she goes and does it because she doesn't remember. She can't. And repetitive, being consistent, having patience and discipline to do it every day is the only way to get through to them. You want your kid to learn something? Do the same thing with them every day. Tell them the ABC song every fucking day for 21 days. Tell them the fucking 1 to 10 every day for 21 days. And they will know it. I told you, I put my daughter to bed with that fucking cocoa melon shit, singing the ABCs and the 1 to 10. She's doing 1 to 10 every fucking day now. She's doing the ABCs every fucking day now. It's remarkable. And this is a kid that some people thought she might have a learning disability. She's not even 4 yet, and she's doing things that other fucking 4-year-olds are barely fucking doing. And that's my baby. I'm proud of her. Shit, man, I got a tear in my eye right now just thinking about how fucking proud I am of her. But anyways, so for a dog, positive reinforcement works better than the negative reinforcement. So the whole heading thing I said, it does work. It's a hell of a way. And for you, magicians out there, witches out there, who are studying and learning the laws of polarity, well, if you're doing a sigil, if you're invoking the banishing side of the moon and not the abundant side of the moon, meaning the waxing's the abundant, the waning's the banishing, Apollo and Diana, well, you might, if you're trying to banish something out of yourself, then maybe using a sigil and using the pain mechanism to get into your brain might be the one you need to do. Because being all happy while you're trying to get rid of something you hate may not work as well. I've had way more success using fear, hate, emotion to get rid of addictive, bad habits, not just drugs and alcohol and shit like that. Which what I have, I don't drink anymore. I don't crave it, and I don't do any of the dope that I've been talking about anymore. And I barely crave it. I do have days, but barely at all. So. Point is, use the right polarity for the right thing. If you are using, I love that I quit all my, then it still can work. It's still an emotion and will work. But sometimes, if you're using Saturn, well, if you're using Saturn to banish, if he's on the negative side, and you're going to use the happy polarity, the love polarity, the positive polarity to banish something, well, it doesn't really always work. It can. It all depends on how your mind works. But all I'm saying here is if you're having trouble with something, and that's what you've been doing, well, use the opposite polarity. Give it a shot. I'm not telling you to hurt yourself. But find a way that you can inflict some kind of pain or some trauma or some fear into you so much that you can, and I gave you guys proof of this. For those who don't listen to Frater Xavier, I played the clip where he says, if you're going to be afraid of something, be afraid of success. Fear is an emotion just like anything else, and it can make stuff happen for you. Now, don't be surprised though whenever the success or the money you willed into your reality using the fear vibration energy rather than the happy vibrational energy. When you get the money, doesn't come to you in some kind of fearful synchronicity, meaning you had a scare, you almost died, and you crushed your fucking hand. Luckily your bone's all healed, and you got a fucking ton of money for it. You send it out with fear, it comes in with fear, right? So just be warned of that. So it might be worth putting in your mind or doing the affirmation route if it's not working with the love energy through a ritual. And it could be a multitude of things why it's not happening for you, because I've done both and it works. And it's like Frater says, it's not always worth the trouble getting something to come in, because it comes in for some reason. Fear, negativity, the things you don't want manifest faster than the things you do want. Don't know why that is. I got my suspicions, and I'm planning an episode right now about that, and it's a Hindu fucking point of view, and it's really sound, and it's gonna blow your minds, I think. But anyways, so with the dog, you can beat them and get them to learn, but they will mimic that the attitude you have with them. They'll be protective over you and they will listen to you, but they're going to mimic that as well, meaning when they're around your children, when they're around other people, when they're around other dogs, they're going to be more aggressive because they've only seen aggression. Now, if you give a dog love and you give them positive reinforcement and you get them to do something, and every time they're good and they don't go in that garden, every time they're good and they give you their paw, every time they're good and they do what they're supposed to outside, and you give them a treat instead of putting their face in the piss and punching them while their face is in the piss and then hurting them, making them bleed and all that, you pieces of shit out there who hate animals. I fucking hate you, by the way. But anyways, if you do that instead, if you give them a treat and something like it, what do dogs like? Fucking dogs love to eat, man. They love fucking food. People food probably more than their own fucking treats, but Jesus, they have so much positive emotion for food. You can say, how the fuck does a treat make them happy? And the only other thing better to a dog is sex. And if your dog has been fucking neutered, depending if you can still get an erection or if it's a girl, you can sort of up and they can't have sex, well, then the only thing they have left is fucking food. Food and your love. Those are the only two things that'll matter to them. And I think food is probably number one when they're hungry, and your love and affection is number one when they're not hungry. So, give or take. But that works arguably better, and it works better with kids. Now, in my day and age, I'm having trouble. I've always had trouble. The whole reason I manifested the time off before I started working the job I'm working right now, which I haven't even been at a year. I've manifested time off. I've manifested 10 grand 3 fucking times during that time off. I've manifested a ton of different money in a ton of different ways, and health and healing and all these things. But this all happened because I didn't want to work anymore. Because I was trying to find a way to not have to work anymore and stay home with my kids because it didn't feel right to me. But, you have to do something. If I manifest a job where I have to stay at home and work from home, I'm still going to have my time to myself, like my wife. That's one of her biggest problems is baby wants to be with her when she's right there in the kitchen working, but she can't do both at the same time. So even if you want to work from home to sustain your life that you have, well, you're still going to have to work. That's something that I had to wrap my head around too. It's like, it doesn't matter if I work from home. I'm still going to need to be perfect for my kids. Yeah, I'll be here, so I'll save time in the commute. And, on breaks I can see them and shit like that, but it's not always, grass isn't always greener. So watch that line of thinking, because that fucked me up for a while, and it's something I really had to unprogram and reprogram into me the proper way. And that comes in the hypnosis part. I'll get into that later if I think of it. But positive reinforcement works better than negative reinforcement. And that's what I wanted to talk about more than anything. Now when it comes to your brain, when I started, I talked about the drug effect. How drug is, it releases the dopamine release in your brain, okay? When you do heroin, that is exactly what happens. The heroin is the highest classification of drug here in Canada anyways. It's the worst one you can get caught with, the worst one you can do, I think anyways. Now in the States, for some reason, and I don't know for sure because I can only go by what videos say. Most videos I've watched where marijuana is worse than cocaine. So I don't know if heroin is the worst in the States or not. And I know like class 1 being the worst, class 4 being the least worst. I think class 1s or class 2 was the ones that make you hallucinate, the ones you can actually have a spiritual experience with. Your fucking, man, I can't think of any names right now. Mushrooms, your psilocybin, but the thing your mind produces by itself, I can't remember the fucking name of that. DMT, any DMT, the shit you smoke, I smoked it too. I have a plant, it's called it, but it's at the same time. Salvia, I got a salvia, May blue salvia plant in my fucking my garden. I don't know if it's kind of smoke, I'm pretty sure it is. It's pretty cheap at a fucking harvest, a plant store here in town. Whole Foods kind of plant store, healthy fucking shit place. They got crystals and everything there, so. But all these things, maybe not all the ones, but like peyote, another one, fuck, everybody talks about from fucking South America. But anyways, these ones are like higher than cocaine and marijuana and shit like that, and they're worse. Yet there's been studies done where people have learned how to get over, stop using opiates with little to no withdrawal symptoms using psilocybin and DMT. Yeah, it's illegal, and that's just the beginning of the whole conspiracy that I'm not going to get into, but you know, it's fucked up. But anyways, so heroin, all drugs release dopamine, all drugs give you that positive emotion depending on your programming. When I started doing drugs, I felt worse because I was programmed to hate drugs, yet I felt like I wanted to do drugs so bad, I had to do drugs. I had to try them, I'm so goddamn curious. And then, so there's always this internal conflict within me, which, like I said, that's the thing, that's why I fucking on my face, like, 2 or 3 fucking times as a kid. Every time I try a new drug, you know, it happens. But anyways, too much positive emotion does the same thing as too much negative emotion. And like I said, too much positive emotion can make you do stupid shit too. Like, you meet a girl and you're so happy and lovey that you can't even tell that she's the type of girl that would cheat on you, the type of girl that's calling you names and you don't care, who doesn't give a shit about you, who is a gold digger, just wants all your fucking money. But you think, no, everybody's the same, we all want to live harmonious lives. Yeah. And this bitch takes you for everything you fucking got. You go get married and you give her, sign her on all your fucking things, and then boom, you got no money. You know what I mean? So positive emotion can fuck you up. So it's a protective mechanism against that as well. So when you start having too much positive emotion, it does the same thing. It gives you a warning. Feedback brings you back a second. When I say feedback loop or something like that, I'm not always meaning feedback loop, because that was associated with this whole thing. It's the feedback loop is from the neocortex to the limbic, to the neocortex to the reptilian, and then the reptilian and the limbic system are also having these feedback loops going back and forth, communicating all simultaneously within seconds, while you are in your conscious mind thinking you know everything. This is doing everything for you. It's amazing. But anyways, so too much positive emotion, something happens, you're super happy, like overwhelmed with happiness, you know. Well, it does the same thing, takes a picture of your fucking environment to know when this happens. Because if you are feeling like that and you're about to make a really important decision in your life, it could fuck you up this way, this trigger. So boom, you're about to go to a business meeting about a big deal, and there's these sketchy fuckers there that are trying to rip you off, and you're not in the right sound, you're in the right state of mind, and you're gonna like, no, I'm gonna make sure I'm not gonna sign anything. My lawyer's not here, I'm gonna make sure I don't do anything stupid. Yeah, they could take me for everything right now, or I can sign it, but not gonna happen. All of a sudden, you get a call, and it's the best news you ever heard. This happens. But before it happens, your mind's gonna feedback loop it, fucking, so you miss it, you don't hear it, so that you still go in that meeting after you're out of your little daze. But you go in that meeting, and you're still in the right state of mind, rather than going in there all fucking happy, love and lighting, and you say, no, all these guys, I can trust them. This is why this would happen in the positive way, okay? I know it doesn't make much sense. I hope I illustrated the point correctly, but it's kind of sketchy. I'm gonna take a break and see if I can come up with a better fucking correspondent for that, simile, metaphor, whatever you want to call it. And I'll give you a little bit more info after I come back, and maybe I'll get into the other episode I really wanted to make. All right. Sorry about that. I got kind of busy when I came home, so I didn't really think of any fucking better correspondences. But off the top of my head, you're with a girl, you know, and you're getting bad vibes. Maybe you caught her cheating on you before, and you took her back, and you might think she's doing it again. All right, and then your parents say, well, you're getting married, you say, oh, you're doing good, your parents have a lot of money, but you've just been working, and then, you know, your dad says, you know what, I'm gonna retire 2 more years. So then once after you get married, you know, we're gonna fucking let you have the company and run it and have a portion of it, and then this way, you know, you'll be set. You have kids, you can pass it down, family generation to generation. But are you sure about your wife? We should sign a fucking, we really should sign a, the contract before saying she won't take you for anything if she decides to divorce you and all the stipulations. I can't fucking remember what that is. Prenuptial agreement. Yeah, no problem, but you're so overwhelmed and happy. So you're in this happy fucking mood or whatever, right? And you're going in there, and then she's like, no, you don't need a prenup, I love you. You know, and then you're like, oh yeah, she's right, we don't need it, you know? Well, that's the kind of emotion that this would save you from, you know? So you're overwhelmed with happiness. This won't allow that to happen. You'll blank out, you won't hear it, and you'll go in there and you'll still get the prenup signed. In this way, because you still have this overwhelming feeling, it's still good, but whenever you reach that peak, it'll blank out, go back, you won't hear everything that happened, and you're back neutral. You're almost neutralized when you go in there, because when you come out of it, you're not still happy. As you hear it again, you'll be happy. There's a trigger in there. It's not necessarily a good thing or a bad thing, but it is how the human body works. These things happen, overwhelmed by one polarity or the next, okay? That's why I made the episode initially, was to tell everybody, watching the TV every fucking day puts you in fight or flight when you become fearful. And that shuts down, it sends cortisol through your body, which is the stress hormone. And the stress hormone tells you to be in fight or flight, just like your breathing. If you can control your breathing, then you control the cortisol. Another reason why I went in depth in breathing. Now, I don't have any degrees. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a fucking doctor, but I do a lot of research, and everything I do is I look up doctors and scientists. And from what I know, you can control your breathing, you can control your cortisol levels, you can control yourself from going into fight or flight, or you can go into the digestive, relaxive state, you know, and you can even put yourself in fight or flight if you're about to do a workout, so that you're fucking rushing out so you can do the workout well. So you don't have to worry about having to go to the bathroom. Ever have to do something, you're getting cramps like you gotta poop? Well, if you control your breathing, you can stop that. And then once you're done, you slow down your breathing, and then you can go back and do your poop. You know what I mean? There's things like that. So that's another scenario. It would be another fucking scenario off the top of my head. I said business meeting already. That was a prenuptial agreement. Well, they tell you not to make big choices whenever you first wake up, right? They tell you when you lose somebody, negative state, you know? Some people say they're in shock. They're kind of in this daze walking around. They're not really registering what happened. Well, this is that. This is that same thing, right? I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do much better than that. I'll be coming out with another video soon, shortly. Maybe you want to buy a house. Let's say you're going to buy a fucking house, and the first house you see, you know, it's fucking great and it's dirt fucking cheap, and it sends you into this fucking spike of fucking good feelings. Well, if we didn't have that system, you'd go buy that house. But because that system happens, it might take you down a notch, so that when the real estate agent's pushing you to buy it and trying to make sure you don't bring up, yeah, I want an inspection done first, so you realize that the roots are fucking damaging the fucking exterior wall that's made out of concrete and it's cracking the shit. And the first rainfall you get, you're gonna have 2 feet of water in your basement. You know what I mean? This person's trying to manipulate you, trying to make sure you keep your mind off of that. This thing stops you from spiking too high with too much positive emotion, and then okay, yeah, no, everything sounds good. I'll call up an inspector, and you know, we'll get it done. Like, yeah, okay, this is done. Once they figure that out, or they're gonna want a hell of a lot cheaper, and there was my commission. So that's why the positive one comes, because people might be like, well, why would you have this protective mechanism against positive emotion? Well, that's why. It's too much positive emotion can blind you just as much as too much negative emotion can make you scared of being blinded, so that you don't let anybody in. You know what I mean? So anyways, that's the end of this. I hope you enjoyed it. I didn't go fight that fucker yet, but it's still in the back of my mind. So, you know, after I sleep and I wake up tomorrow, I'll probably be okay. So I'm trying not to go out anywhere tonight and see his ass. But yeah, thanks for caring. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for whatever you fucking do. And have a good one. And make sure you take care of yourself, all right?